Good luck, Karina.
Thanks, Ray. Good luck to you too.
Halo, saya Anneke dari PT Aryendra Tata Design, anggota HDII DKI 042. Sebagai anggota HDII, kami berprofesi sebagai interior designer, tetap harus kreatif, harus semangat. Buat teman-teman anggota HDII, mari sama-sama kita majukan HDII DKI. HDII DKI keren!
Hai, nama saya Ayu Tisatmarani dengan nomor anggota HDII 750 DKI AB. Saat ini saya sedang bekerja di Desain Partners Indonesia. Semoga kedepannya profesi desain interior semakin mendapatkan tempat di hati masyarakat Indonesia. Semangat terus HDII Jakarta.
Hai, saya Amelia dengan nomor anggota 731 DKI AB. Saya bekerja di Desain Partners Indonesia. Saya harap HDII bisa go internasional. Semangat HDII!
Hi, welcome to session 2 of the day, of day 2 of the MAYANTARA JAK.ID 2021. Mayantara is a live virtual festival that serves as a platform for actors related to the creative industries sector, especially in design. Mayantara JAK.ID 2021 is a special collaborative event hosted by Mayantara and HDII Jakarta, with an angle of interior and spatial design as gateway to reach public experience, as well as to celebrate Jakarta's 494th anniversary. So the virtual event will be held on 16th to 18th of June 2021 as a preliminary event towards Mayantara 2021 that will be held in August 2021. So this will be broadcasted live on YouTube, and the session's topic is In Search of Craftsmanship, presented by AHAC. Let me introduce myself. I'm Tri Hikmawati. I'm the design director at TNS Creative, and I'm a member of HDII. So, who will be the MC and the moderator for this session. Selamat datang semua di sesi 2, hari kedua di Mayantara JAK.ID 2021. So before we start, I'd like to introduce and big thanks to HDII, or Himpunan Desain Interior Indonesia, which is registered professional organization representing interior designers in Indonesia. And Rina Rentil is the chairperson of HDII DKI Jakarta, period 2019 and 2022. So let's say hi to Rina. Hi, Rina. You're still unmute, so it's okay. So this session is presented by AHAC. So welcome to Mr. John Chan, the Regional Director of AHAC Southeast Asia and Greater China. Hi, John. You there? Yes, thank you. So a short intro of AHAC. So AHAC is actually the American Hardwood Export Council. AHAC is the leading international trade association for the American hardwood industry. For more than 30 years, AHAC has been at the forefront of international wood promotion. Around the world, AHAC works to inspire, support, and provide technical advice to architects, designers, specifiers, and manufacturers. Follow them at the AHAC _SCA on Instagram to see exciting designs and get the latest updates for our region. Above all, please also welcome our speaker. Hi, Karina Cheng. Hi, she's the Managing and Creative Director at Bisa Living. So also, I would like to remind all the audience and the participants that there's an AHAC survey. So you can find the survey from the webinar chat box. Your response will help AHAC to plan future events aimed at the design community. Both English and Bahasa Indonesia are available. So please submit the survey before the end of the session or, well, today. Yeah. So audience can ask also in the Zoom chat box, which will be addressed during Q&A session. So now we're going to play first the Regional Director's message by John Chan, the Regional Director of AHAC Southeast Asia and Greater China.
Dear guests, organizer, friends of HDII and AHAC, and speakers of these sessions, welcome to join our webinar sessions today. You may have frequently heard of the notions carbon neutrality, climate change, and sustainability. How can we actually be part of it to contribute and help the environment? The choice of wood material is for sure one of the most important factors that can speed up carbon neutrality. The seminar topics to be presented today have addressed the choice of timber, design, production, and sustainability. Happen to be AHAC's program and message promoting U.S. hardwoods. U.S. hardwood can offer you more choices and selections for furniture design, architectural, and interior design projects. You are going to discover the examples of U.S. hardwood's workability and natural beauty in the woodcraft furniture from the presentations today. It is more important than ever that we protect our natural environment and turn our intentions to preserve it into actions. Using wood from well-managed resources, such as the American forests, is one of the most environmentally sound choices that we can make as consumer and specifiers. Our role in the Southeast Asia and Greater China region is to support architects and designers like you in considering the environmental impact of your material choice and giving you evidence to substantiate that your choice is a responsible one. We are also encouraging you as specifier to explore species that you may not have used before. The forest is a natural resource, and it is important not just to use the one or two species that are in fashion, but to use the species that the forest provides. For this reason, we are delighted to see species such American cherry, hard and soft maple, walnut, white oak, ash, and red oak, etc., being embraced by designers around the world. It is also heartening that there is a growing willingness to incorporate the natural character of the timber in design. I hope you enjoy the seminar today. Stay safe, happy, and healthy.
Thank you, John. So this session will in search of craftsmanship will be presented by Karina Chung, Managing and Creative Director at Vika Living. So Karina obtained her education from LPRI for building science and Christie for furniture design. After heading the project management team for 6 years, Karina took the helm in Vika Living as both its managing director and creative director. Since 2011, she is responsible in creating a new home shopping experience at Vika Living with 3 stores and a thriving e-commerce business. Vika Living truly lives up to Karina's vision in creating a curated collection of home and living products for Indonesia's homeowners. So now let us hear Karina's journey, while the audience are welcome to address their questions via Q&A box. Go ahead, Karina.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Let me just share my screen first. Oops. Okay. So, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining this webinar today. When AHEC approached me to contribute, it took me a while to come up with a topic. But as I allow myself to go deep within, this webinar actually became a saving grace during this time of abnormality. So I hope you will enjoy my sharing today, and I'm inviting everyone to come up with lots of questions so that we can all can participate in a mutually beneficial dialogue. About a month and a half ago, one of my favorite fashion designer, whom I have admired for both his talent and thoughts, passed away due to COVID. As I read more about his life, there's this quote by him that really struck me. The quote is, "Part of what we do is giving joy to people. That is what design is all about." for me as a designer maker, it really hit me deeply because Albert really walked the talk. Every time I wear his dress, I feel joyful, I feel great, I feel sexy, and my energy changed. So, and I have to admit, facing the pandemic changed me. Everything that I've been doing or know suddenly received an earthquake of its life. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who feel lost and have to reset. But reset to me is not to start from zero. It actually gives me the opportunity to really look deep within and question myself and rediscover myself, the core of me as a designer maker. So let's start this journey of in search of craftsmanship. When someone asks me, how long have I been working for Bika? I'd like to say since forever. My parents, David and Hannah, started Bika right after they got married. My mom left her job so that the two of them can be partners in life and in business. I like to say she's the first feminist housewife that I've ever known. Now, being born in a Chinese family business means it becomes your life. I used to accompany my mom to Singapore when I was in elementary school just to buy fabrics. So my playgrounds were the fabric shops, the factory, the shop itself, and surprise, surprise, furniture stores. Now, people sometimes ask me who is my favorite designer. I have a few favorites, but my most favorite, I think I can say, is my father. His background is electrical engineering. He taught himself furniture making. He created a company from zero, and I still ask him for advice. But what I admire most from him is that how he managed to build a team of skilled craftsmen to create just beautiful furniture with him. And up until today, I still have clients who always tell me how my dad does all the work for their homes. So this cute couple on the left are my parents, shaking hands with Bapak Adam Malik in 1981 when he was the vice president of Indonesia. During the 80s and the 90s, Bika always participated in the Jakarta Furniture Fair. They did everything in-house, the booth design, the furniture, the presentations. I remember going there every day just to hang out at the booth, and it's always so full. My mom used to say from one fair in a year, the orders that came in is for a work for the whole year. So this is a time where they introduce new designs. It's like the Salone Mobile of Indonesia. Now, let's put things into perspective. During that time, high quality furniture is pretty much only for the few. The customers have to trust the company on what is good for their home. So I'd like to say they had to be a tastemaker. We take it for granted on how information is so easily gathered now. But at that time, probably only architectural digest existed. And the rest, you have to have a lot of books for research. And to do reproductions of English classical furniture means you really need to have passion for the business. My dad always have his ways around words, but the things that I remember him saying is, don't be a follower. It's hard work to be the first, but it's more tiring to keep up with others. So I accidentally found the sofa picture when I was working on this presentation. For us now, putting batik onto sofa is an ordinary thing with the emergence of pride for our own country's identity through things made. But in the 80s, batik is just being used for kebaya or for sarung or for special occasions. The photo on the right is the opal chair designed by Eugenio Hendro for Bika. The inspiration was the traditional Indonesian hairpin used to keep the buns up, the konde. And we upholster it with the tenun from suku Baduy, traditional Bantinese community that always known to put natures first. The tenun was done by hand and naturally dyed. For me, to be an Indonesian design, it doesn't mean it has to literally take traditional forms. But how do we get inspired by things and stories that surround us and create a new language for it? Both sofa and chair is contemporary for its time. One for using material not intended for it. The other to use a traditional material and take on a contemporary form. They're just being an odd one out, and yet speaks the story of the nation. So growing up in the 80s means Indiana Jones for me. And Indiana Jones opened up my eyes to the world, more than O'Neill and Little House on the Prairie at that time. It was a combination of traveling to exotic locations, being a spy detective, and also a scholar. So I wanted to become an archaeologist. I was just enamored by the stories and how things are made. Long story short, I went to architecture school instead. And to me, it's archaeology without the ghost. And you can create new stories. So I ended up in the oldest engineering school in the US. As the Archies, we were the minority. We have our own building, and we were always the odd one out. You know, email was only Hotmail. There was no Google yet, only Firefox. There was no AutoCAD. So the library is our Google. You know, we taught ourselves our own way of presenting our ideas. Model making is my way of sketching. Photography is my 3D rendering. I discovered Hadid, Koolhaas, Shumi, and they were writing books and didn't really build anything. So my education started with my mind. It was a theoretical school, more than a practical school. And it was only for the last year that there's a class called Design Development, where we take our past projects and prepare a set of drawings ready to be sent out to contractors and be built. And yes, there was a lot of construction issues in everyone's projects. To me, this time was magical. I was making things out of wood and any materials out there. Nothing was out of the ordinary. Everything is about making things with your hand, putting your ideas out, making them, building them, just creating things out of thin air. My other half of learning is from my travels. The school has a few summer and whole semesters programs at different countries. And of course, I went to destinations where I know nobody would want to go with me. So which was Turkey, Prague, and India. At that time, Apple hasn't come out with the iPhone. So cameras with film and sketchbooks are our companions. Now, when I look back, there really is a shift in design as soon as technology is readily available. With sketching, time is your friend. You really look, and drawing is a way to understand. Writing a travel journal is all about capturing how you feel at that moment. And when I was spending 5 months in India, there is one object that struck me deeply. It's called a charpoy. As you can see from the photos, it's an everything piece of furniture. But what is it about charpoy that is so brilliant to me? You know, as an architect, I was trained to build art things, to surround you, to create a purposely built space. Then we put furniture inside for the space for usage. Here, I encounter a 5,000-year-old four-legged weave platform object that is a staple in a society of 1 billion people that defines the function of a space through usage. At around the same time, I got accepted to RISD Furniture Design Program. So the idea of charpoy became both my beacon and assurance of changing from architecture to furniture design, and also an inspiration on what furniture can be and what the designer of those set furniture can be. And I ended up making one. I went back to Jakarta, designed a charpoy that is portable and small. You don't need nails or glue to put them together. All the joints interlock. It was made with American white oak for the legs and American black walnut for the rails. And I actually brought a suitcase full of jute from India. Oak is exceedingly strong, dense, and durable. You know, it has a natural strength that can put up with a lot of abuse compared to other wood. Walnut is also a strong material, and I need a wood species that is strong and will not warp and twist. So I choose them together for aesthetic reason as well, to show the joints and how the interlocking come together. What did I learn from this project? Number one, prototype is an important step in any furniture design process. Number two, I would probably change the rails to oak and do a stain instead of two different wood, where structure is 80% of the construction. Three, designing buildings and designing furniture are two different things. And number 4, make sure you have friends who are open to become your models. Then I started at RISD. It's an art school where you are pampered with the amount of facilities and teachers who are there for you to make your ideas and dreams come to fruition. The furniture design department was started in 1962 by a gentleman called Tay Fried, who was kind of studio furniture godfather in the US. So I remember a quote by him. He said, when teaching, he emphasized a craftsman need to learn all the available tools and methods one could use to complete a given task. So I was taught in this type of environment with teachers whose works are collected in museums, doing one of a kind or limited number of studio furniture. And the first thing that I have to do is to sharpen my chisels, which is the picture on the left. Those are my Japanese chisels. My hand planer, which is the third picture on from the left, my pencil, and proceed to make a cross-lap joint. The cross-lap joint is the picture on the right-hand side. A sheet of paper is being used to check whether you pass on your joint project or you fail. So if it can fit in between the 2 pieces of wood, then you go back and start again. This was an important lesson for me. It taught me that whatever you do, your ideas can be so brilliant, but if the execution is, S, then the result is also, I know I shouldn't be saying this word, but should. Second, your tools are your life. It can be your hand, your paintbrush, your camera, but if you don't take care of them, nothing good will come out of it. So well-maintained tools, preparation, focus, precision. These are the 4 key points in any maker's mind. The second thing we have to do is to carve an egg out of a block of wood just with a rasp. A rasp is a kikir, okay? So the first lesson was all about precision. Okay. The second lesson is about fine-tuning your sensibilities, honing your eyes and your hand. There's no right or wrong shape. You are responsible for your own judgment and your decision. So the first thing I made was a coffee table. It was done with hand tools only, which is the chisel and the hand planer. The material is solid American black walnut, and it's finished with wood oil. And the idea is to create a physical and a sensual experience with your furniture. Because the top is not flat, you are forced to engage with it before you put anything on top of it. And I use the end grain of the wood because it is actually stronger than the lateral grain. End grains are usually used for basketball courts, flooring in the US because of its strength and durability. Even with the temperature changes, the movement of an end grain wood flooring will be very minimal compared if you were to use lateral wood planks. So for maintenance, you just have to oil it and buff it. This piece is 23 years old, and the glue joints between the planks has not moved. And they're still perfect with no movement whatsoever. So joints are the most valuable in any piece of furniture. And if you don't take into consideration the character of the wood itself, then the joints will break and crack. Because wood is a living material that will always be affected by the environment. One of my closest friends in college is half Ghanaian and half white. So at the time, she was going through an identity search as a half African and half white American. And one of the semester was about chairs. And in Ashanti culture in Ghana, stools are not just a place to sit on. The golden stool, which is on the left, represents the authority of the king, enshrines the soul of the nation, and symbolizes the kingdom's unity. Made out of solid gold, it never even touched the ground and carried in procession and have its own throne. So it opens up another discussion on why we design. What are the significance of our design? What it represents? What do we want to say with it? Akuya made these 2 stools, and they are now with me as we traded our stools before we both went our separate ways. So the one on the left is actually, she wrapped the stool with duct tape, and then she wrapped it again with leather and actually paint over it. The one on the right is actually a vintage English design classical footstool, and then she wrapped it with kente cloth. So we have a saying in Bika that we make furniture with souls. What does it mean? For us, it means from us as the maker, and when we make things, we put so much of ourselves into the products, and that same energy hopefully will be felt by the user. And there will be connection. That will be the connection that we create between us as maker and to the user and with the user. Second, by doing so, we're not just being producers, but we're actually creating objects of memories and of significance, whatever they may be. I came back in Jakarta in early 2000s, did a few years as the PM for Bika's commercial projects. As PM, one of my roles is to be the middle person between the factory and the designers. Knowing the importance of design and also production techniques and longevity gotten from proper production process, it was a dream job. After that, we started our retail shop in Kemang about 15 years ago. And 10 years ago, we started with Bika Living. So Bika Living was modeled after the lifestyle stores in the US and Europe, and also Lane Crawford Home in Hong Kong. It is intended to have a curated selection of brands that share the same DNA as Bika. Family-owned, material selections, and unique. So the very first brand I approached was Mizone Home. Mizone is an interesting company. It was started by Ottavio and Rosita, who decided to open a small knitwear workshop when they got married. It sounds so familiar to my parents' story, right? Because Rosita family owns a textile company. Long story short, I love the brand. One, because the owner's soul is very much in it, in the products. They're very iconic, they're forward-thinking. And the most important thing is that they make people joyful with all the colors. So 10 years down the road, we have 3 stores and work with almost about 60 up to 60 brands. And when we first opened in Plaza Indonesia, it was quite overwhelming to the market. It was meant to be a space where you discover and enjoy. We became the first company in Indonesia who have our own products and work with brands from abroad and really created a total shopping experience for your home. So someone asked me once, why? Why am I selling all these things in the store? So my question to him was, so I don't get bored going to work. And this I hold dear to me. Everything that has been selected has to spark something in me, because I don't want to be selling stuff. I want to be selling sparks and joy. We also did a few collaborations with Indonesian designers such as Eugenio Hendro and Abi Abdillah, and more coming soon. Also with Indonesian artists and makers as Juanyam, Citra Tenun Indonesia, and many more. So we find the spirit of collaboration really keeps us alive. Second, I'd like to share this video of a Konstantin dining table, which is part of the 2020 collection designed by the Bika design team. I'd like to talk about two things that are important for us. Number one is material selection. So this Anna chair is one of our best-selling chair. It is made out of solid American cherry. So we use this specific wood for a few reasons. Okay, number one is strength. With the rattan for the middle part, the joint has to be solid and strong. So also the dimension of the parts are thin. So you need a wood that is a medium or high density, and American cherry falls into this category. Number two is for aesthetic reason. Cherry has a soft grain and it takes color nicely. So the result is a soft, elegant chair and not too busy of a wood. Now, I have a story that comes with this slide. One time a client of ours, somebody purchased this chair and made a copy out of mahogany for a project. Long story short, there was a lot of breakage. Not because mahogany is a bad wood, it's because the material is not being correctly chosen for this specific design. Okay, so I like to say that not all timbers are created equal. Sometimes we think our material choices can be purely about aesthetic, but each wood species has its own character, and we as designers and makers, that sometimes we forgot. So to be able to create something fully with timber, we cannot run away from all these considerations. The second half is sustainability. For this, I'd like to touch on the issue of waste. The furniture industry is probably one of the top wasteful industry when we talk about waste. So how do we address this issue? One is through the longevity of age by creating quality products. And the second is through the usage efficiency through your production. So the Aula Sinfonia Jakarta is a perfect example of these two. The indication of a successful wall paneling. So the concert hall is being covered all with wooden wall paneling. Okay, and the indication of a successful wall paneling work, if we were to be in a space and the pattern of the wood has to be uniform. This is why a panel grade veneer is always more expensive than a furniture grade veneer. But to cover a huge space like a concert hall, either you need a huge log. So you need a huge log so that the pattern and wood color can be consistent throughout. Because if you mix different logs of wood, then the pattern will be different and the color also will be different. It will not be nice. So how do we tackle this challenge? We came up with the idea of mixed grain. So if you see the slide on the lower right-hand side, you see this gradation of light and dark. Okay, in any wood, especially the dark woods, you will have this different color. Okay, not because it's defect, it's just because that's how wood grows, right? That's how trees grow. You have a dark part and a light part. But by using both gradation, we cut down on a lot of waste. And also we can use different logs, we can mix logs while still maintaining the consistency throughout the space. So the project was done in 2009. And up until today, there has been no complaints. And so quality exists. Therefore, the project grows more beautiful over time instead of creating more waste because of low quality work. This is a funny slide, okay, but it's an important slide for me. Okay, so this is a vintage 1975 Colnago, Mexico. Okay, and Colnago released this bike in commemorations of the hour record of Eddie Merckx in 1972. So why these photos? Okay, Colnago, Mexico is a race bike. But I decided to put a commuter handlebar on it. And my friends call it Ontel Nago. Now, for the vintage purists, this is sacrilegious. Okay? But for me, a bike is not an object to get you far or fast. Riding bicycle for me is pure joy and meditative. And by putting a more relaxed handlebar, it changes the whole aura of this bike. So I'm trying to share with this story is march to the beat of your pedal stroke. You need to know what gives you the most joy and follow it. And by saying that, we came to my own design work for Bika. This table was designed with a few ideas in mind. Number one, how do we value unusable material? Okay. The pattern of the veneer was done in such a way that I was only using pieces that are considered unusable because of the size and the variety of the grain pattern. So by arranging this pattern, I was able to use these pieces and create a new value for them, for the wood. Number two, how do we balance handwork and production work? You know, we have some amazing veneer specialists in the company. And to do this pattern, it takes a lot of man hours, and each table will come up with completely different pattern because they have the freedom to do the pattern and choose the wood itself. So everything is done one by one, like in the studio furniture environment. And yet the machineries that we have ensure quality result. So it is a marriage between human and machine. Okay. Number three, the only straight surface on this table is the tabletop. Other than that, they're all curved or in an angle. So precision work, gluing techniques, quality of hand-sprayed finish is key in the execution. And if you see the edge, we use solid timber so that you can have a thin edge, but underneath is curved. So in all my work, I want the user to engage through touch. And this curved underside always make people surprised and happy. So the design encompasses everything that I hold dear to me. You know, making things, interaction with objects, pushing the boundaries, environment and more. The table is called dahan. One, because looking up at tree branches is my favorite pastime. Second is named after my parents, David and Hannah. And it has been under production in Bika for a few years. And even though it's quite different from our other offerings in the collection, it proves to be quite a commercial success. And a few years ago, we showed it in the Singapore Furniture Fair. And to me, as a designer maker, the biggest compliment I get is a bunch of furniture makers, furniture guys from Vietnam and from China and around the world. They came up to the table. They look underneath because furniture makers always look underneath of any piece of furniture and ask me, how do you make this? That was the first question. And the second question was, is this table really made in Indonesia? Okay, so two questions. So here we are at the end, and we are back to the title, In Search of Craftsmanship, and I added another sentence, the journey within. For me, to be able to create and make, I came into conclusion that I just have to be me. You know, my passion, my education, my family upbringing, the people I met along the way, they are all a part of me. And for me to be able to still be working towards achieving my goal is to work hard to know me, open to more discoveries, do the hard work, and enjoy the journey along the way. And the viewer will be able to connect with you through your work. And this itself is a valuable experience for both the maker and the user. So go deep within and be yourself, stay passionate, and embrace the unique you. Thank you.
Thank you, Karina, for the inspiring presentation.
I should stop.
Okay. Anyway, before we take a commercial break, gentle reminder for all participants to write down their questions in the Q&A box. So we welcome questions in Indonesian or English. So great. So see you soon after a commercial break. Thanks. Oh, no commercial break. Anyway, so yes, so while we're waiting for questions from participants. Karina, let's chat a bit about you and your experience and your journey. I mean, do you have a favorite material that you work with, or let us know what's your secret? Yeah.
I don't. Well, a material.
Okay.
Natural resources probably, but you know, I work a lot with wood, but I also do a lot of ceramic work. I do throwing and casting, and I do metal works. So I think materials for me is not about favorites or anything, but it's really about what is suitable for the things that I'll be designing.
Okay. So you once said that, you know, when you are a designer, it's like making, so you're a furniture maker, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it needs to have a purpose. So can you emphasize or elaborate, like what do you mean by that? Is it by it has to have an added value, or, you know, it has to have the correct material used, or
well, I believe us as designers, we have a responsibility to have that added value for our customer, you know, for the people who will be using our design, right? So what do I mean by making furniture with a purpose? Okay, you know, now we a lot of people, when I get interviewed, they ask me, said, hey, you know, you always talk about the environment, and yet you're cutting down trees. Yeah. Right. I mean, that's kind of 180 degrees, right? Like,
yeah.
But to me, to be environment friendly, whatever you do, it has to have purpose. It has to have meanings. Yeah.
Yeah.
So those things are not just easily thrown away, because if we are just doing things that are easily thrown away, we're teaching our customer to be just consumptive. You know, everything is just, you know, it breaks so easily, you just throw it away, you know, or it doesn't look good and you just throw it away, it doesn't sit nice, you just throw it away. So making furniture a purpose is really about really thinking of like what you're designing, and have that intention to do quality products that are valuable, that adds value to the people who actually buys your products, you know. So I think that's one of them. But a second side is because I was trained in this studio furniture background, right? And I think a lot of it are, I do a lot of furniture that is not just functional, but it's more of kind of like a sculpture to me, you know? And so that's why some of my furniture are kind of like accent pieces, you know. They doesn't really have to have like that specific purpose, but you know, that adds something to the space that you live in.
Okay, so it's in a way it's unique when you design it. Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have actually questions from the audience, from the participants. Okay, it's exciting. Well, one is from Anonymous. Okay, is this a fan of Karina? Anyway, how do you find brands or manufacturers globally who share the same passion and value as you, so that you can collaborate with them at Vika?
Okay, so a few ways. One is that because you know, my parents has been in the business for 47 years now. So our network with the design industries are quite big. Yeah. So it sometimes you just get introduced, and I always believe that the right people will come to your life at the right time. So it's through introductions and your network, and I guess people share about the company. Okay. Second thing is I go to a lot of design shows. I go to Paris, and I go to Milan, and I go to the US, and that to me is like shopping trip, you know, because I actually love buying things for the home. You know, it's actually my hobby and it's actually my passion, right? So when I go, I take a few days and I would actually walk to the whole fair. And just sometimes it catches my eyes, you know. Every year I always bring in something new because they're just different things. And you meet people along the way, and you like and if I admire them, if I admire whatever they're doing with their work, with their products, you know, then join Bika. I 2-3 years ago I met this American lady who went to Rwanda to set up non-profit organizations working with war widows. Okay, so you know, Rwanda, Ethiopia, there was a lot of wars, right? So there was a lot of war widows, but they have like this culture and history of basket weaving. So what they do is that they get all these women together and they teach them again. Okay, and the women was actually I think it was not the financial success that they were looking for. It was kind of like they are finally able to keep on living after all the wars and after like losing their families and everything else. So I like working with those kind of companies, yeah, companies who has purpose, you know, who you know, in a fair they have so many people are selling African basket because it was a trend at that year 3 years ago, right? African, I was like it, but why this company? Because this company is not just doing baskets just to sell baskets. They were actually looking at the people who are the women who are working making the baskets, and what kind of value is this lady giving to the women? Yeah, same thing as Duanyam. You know, first thing I found about them, and then I met with them, and they asked me. They said, "Hey, you know, our baskets are not expensive yet. They're like 200,000, 300,000. Why do you want to sell in Bika?" I said, well, because design is not about the price. Design is about the value that you give it. Yeah. And I said, just put it in. I like your products. I like the idea behind it. I admire these 3 women who started Duanyam, you know, working with ladies in East Indonesia. Okay. And then we put them, you know, and then one of the founder told me, it's like, oh yeah, I went to a restaurant, and then the owner was there, and the owner said, hey, I got this basket, cool, yeah, I got this basket from Bika, you know. And the owner of the restaurant actually tell the story of Duanyam. So that's what I'm talking about, you know. If you're designing things with purpose, if you're designing things with a soul, your whole being as a maker will get translated to the customer, yeah. And the customer will feel that, right? So they're not just like buying things just to like fill things in their home. They're buying things because they understand about why the products is being designed, why the products are being made. And that is such a powerful thing. So, yeah.
So it's actually not exactly about trend or how expensive it is, but for you, it's more about the purpose. Yes.
So I think for me, you know, I still in my house I still have antiques that my parents have. I still have things that I bought when I was traveling because those things have meaning. Okay, so if you're buying things that have meanings for you, you will tend not to throw them away.
Yeah.
Okay? Yes. And those things
but
are
obviously
part of your life. You know, because you remember like what happened when you buy like this pen, you know, or like that book, you know, you remember that it's part of you, you know. So it really it's part of your growth to me. It's part of your growth as a person.
It's part of your journey. Okay, we actually have several questions for you. One is from Clarissa. She said, hi Karina, wondering if you can share what your dream project is like, and if you have any favorite product designers and inspirations, please do share.
All right, that's not an easy question to answer. Dream project. I like to say that has no budget limit. But I think I like to say that my dream project is when what the owner wants and have in mind and what I believe in are in sync. You know, I don't think dream projects has anything. Budget is just, you know, you do a good job and you get paid there. But I think what's more fulfilling is when the owner reaches out to you because they understand what you can offer, yeah, and then you can give really 100% for the project. So yes, so I think that's my dream project when my client and me, we are in sync in our goals.
Yeah, it's more about the collaboration process, which both ways are, you know, very delighted to do, right?
And it's not easy, right, to find clients like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a dream project when everything goes fine, right? From beginning, from start to end. Yeah, that's a dream project. So it's not about the size.
Yeah,
right?
because like all creatives, right? Photographers, you know,
All creative industry.
that you need to have that.
Yeah. But what about your favorite product designers?
My favorite.
Do you have one or? Yeah.
I have so many.
So many. Yeah. Well.
But
So what's your favorite?
My really favorite. Oh goodness. What is it? Actually, I don't know. Can I come back to you on that? Let's
Okay. Okay. So anyway, there's also several questions actually from one person. Is Enzo? I hope is it a he? I think it's a he. But I will choose some of it. So not all. I think this we don't have that much time. So first, he said, "Hi, I'm an interior design student." And you know, the questions that he wants to address, first question is, do long-lasting and sustainable furniture have to be expensive? Or is there other options? So
okay.
One first, I'll ask one at a time. Yeah.
Okay. So value, you know, our being is equal to dollar number, right? Rupiah number. Okay, because that's how we value things. Okay. Now, sometimes, you know, we are only being valued by the product that we make, but we are not being valued by the thinking behind it.
Yeah.
Okay. So, do long-lasting and sustainable furniture have to be expensive? One, of course, it's subjective, but I'm not going there. Okay. But
yeah,
certain reasons why lasting products happen because we use good materials.
okay.
Okay. Same thing like my example of the Ana chair. Okay. We import the American cherry wood. Okay. So when you import the goods, it's you have the shipping, you have the import duties, you have the taxes, and everything. Compared to if you were to buy, and then American hardwoods, they select logging, right? So they give the trees time to grow. Okay. By doing so, there's a lot of effort in it. It can be like 10 years, 15 years down the road. Okay. Compared to if you were to use mahogany. And that's why the chair was being made in mahogany. It was actually to cut down the budget. Okay. Now the mahogany, if you talk about the mahogany in Indonesia, sometimes logging here, it's like they cut everything, right? It doesn't matter whether the tree is big or the tree is small, they just cut everything. Yeah. So cost is of course cheaper, right? Because you don't have to go to the forest and pick one big tree, right? You just go to the forest, bring a thing and just like bring in a truck, put it in, cost is cheaper. Okay, but what is the result in the at the end product? Okay. The chair used a cherry wood not because it's an expensive material. It's because it's thin. You need to have a wood that is strong, that is higher density. Okay. While mahogany, if you see mahogany, the grains are wider apart, which means the wood is not dense enough, which that translates it might not be strong. Second, you don't know whether mahogany is an old tree or a new tree. Okay, so if you talk about, do long-lasting, sustainable furniture have to be expensive, or is there any other options? I think if you want, first of all, the materials has to be top quality. You know, that is something that, to me, you cannot compromise on that. But if there's a budget concern, then we as the designers, we have to be very smart in our material selections. Okay, material selections doesn't, good doesn't mean it's expensive. Expensive because of the thoughts behind it. Okay, so if you said, okay, I cannot use cherry because budget constraint, then find a wood that is local wood that has the same characteristics and it's suitable for that specific usage. So that I like to say. But it's not only just the material, right? It's the skilled people who actually, okay. If we have like some guy coming out from high school and said, hey, just make a chair, then you're like, what to do? Yeah, gergaji, and then it joins bricks, right? Or if you just only using glue that is not suitable for furniture, it will usually breaks. If you use finishing that is not good for your breathing, you also have that effect, right? So sometimes if we don't pick the right materials of the materials is meaning there's a reason behind it, right? Why it's cheap, right? Sometimes we actually pay in the end.
Well,
why don't you just you invest more in the beginning, yeah, and then it will give you a long-lasting result, rather than you don't invest in it and then you pay in the end. And I think it talks about like our growth as well, right?
Yeah.
We invest on our very beginning with our educations and everything else. We have a strong foundations on who we are as a person, who we are as a designer. Compare if we're like, I just don't have to go to school, and just like, fudge along the way.
That's different. Yeah.
So So my brother has a funny story. Like somebody said to him because we were negotiating for a project, and the customer said, hey, if you want to buy sate ayam, you don't really care where the satay comes from, right? You just eat the satay, it's good, done. Okay, correct, right? You go to warung, buy satay ayam. If it's good, you don't really care. Okay, but my brother has a very smart answer to this. He said, well, it depends. If the guy who's cooking your satay is not clean, you might get stomach ache, right? If you don't cut the chicken, someone else
might get a stomach ache or not because it's delicious.
So it's not the end result that really matters. It's actually the work behind it that creates that value, customer, on why you want to, pay the, exchange, to have that exchange, that monetary exchange. So hopefully,
hopefully that answers Enzo's question, whether it's expensive or not. Well, logically, it's more meat to the purpose. And expensive or not, I think it's more subjective in a way. Yeah. So anyway, we're heading towards the end of our session, and I'm very sorry to other audiences who have given questions in the question box. Thank you anyway. And so I will summarize the short summary for this session into languages. Hopefully it's correct. So craftsmanship atau keahlian pertukangan dalam furniture atau kerajinan tangan sebaiknya itu memperhatikan tujuan dalam pembuatan yang dapat memberi nilai tambah dan sustainability dalam membuat produk yang tahan lama, terutama dalam pemilihan material yang tepat seperti kayu. Ini akan memperlihatkan apresiasi dan pola pikir yang baik yang melibatkan keterampilan dalam realisasikan atau eksekusi desain. In English, so craftsmanship or skill in furniture making needs to consider the purpose of making, which can add value, and sustainability, in which making long-lasting products, especially in choosing the suitable material, such as hardwood. So this will show appreciation and good mindset, involving the set of skills required in realizing or executing one's design. So that wraps up today's session. Please don't forget to submit the survey today, and big thanks to Karina Chang. Thank you very much for the inspiring journey. To all audiences, to all audience and participants who have been with us since morning, and to the panelists and sponsors as well. So make sure to stay tuned and subscribe to Mayantara YouTube channel, which is Mayantara Indonesia, for more Mayantara JAK.ID sessions. And follow our Instagram account at mayantara.id or at HDII Jakarta, and AHEC's Instagram at AHEC_SEA. So up next, we have upcoming session at 13:00 or 1 p.m. Jakarta time, Built to Last, which is the topic session, and presented also by AHEC with Nathan Young, and as a moderator, Francis Surya Saputra. So thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you again. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.